HOA Karen Calls 911 on my farm, didn't expect that I had called ahead. It all began when Alex Carter inherited his grandfather's sprawling farm. A piece of land that had been in his family for generations. Nestled just outside a residential neighborhood. The 15-acre farm was a peaceful sanctuary. Surrounded by wide open fields. A red barn in the distance. And the soothing sounds of livestock grazing nearby. The air was thick with the scent of fresh hay and the earthy aroma of the land that had sustained Alex's ancestors. The property was far from the cookie-cutter suburban homes that lined the neighborhood. But Alex didn't mind, he loved it. It was a chance to continue the legacy of hard work his family had established long ago. However, it wasn't long before he realized that the peace he hoped for would be short-lived. Despite the farm being legally separate from the HOA's jurisdiction, the Neighborhood Association, led by Monica Davis, made it clear that they had no tolerance for a farm in their pristine suburban community. Monica, a woman who prided herself on controlling every detail of the neighborhood, saw Alex's farm as an eyesore. And she was about to make it her mission to get rid of it. Monica Davis, the self-proclaimed HOA president, wasted no time in making her displeasure known. With her perfectly manicured lawn and strict adherence to suburban standards, she couldn't fathom why anyone would want to live next to a farm. She sent Alex a barrage of letters, each one more outrageous than the last. First, she demanded he remove the fences that lined his property, claiming they were an eyesore. Then, she complained about the smell of hay and fresh soil, insisting that it was offensive to the delicate sensibilities of the neighbors. But it didn't stop there. Monica went after Alex's animals. The chickens clucked too loudly. The goats were disruptive. And the cows, in her opinion, had no business grazing near a residential area. She even tried to prevent Alex's farmhands from parking their trucks on his own land. With each complaint, Alex stood his ground, refusing to bow to the whims of an HOA that had no jurisdiction over his farm. But Monica wasn't one to take no for an answer. She began to escalate things. And that's when the real trouble started. Monica wasn't content with sending letters or making complaints anymore, she wanted Alex out. The next step in her relentless campaign was to involve the police. One afternoon, as Alex worked in the barn, he heard the distant sound of sirens. He didn't think much of it at first, assuming it was just a passing patrol car. But when two police cruisers rolled down his driveway and came to a halt, he immediately knew who was behind it. Stepping outside, Alex wiped his hands on his jeans, trying to remain calm. Monica, arms crossed and a smug look on her face, was standing there like she'd just won a victory. The officers got out of their cars and, with a quick glance at their notepads, explained that they'd received a complaint about illegal livestock and zoning violations on his property. Alex sighed, recognizing Monica's fingerprints all over it. The officer continued to say that they were investigating whether Alex was running a commercial business without the proper permits. Monica eagerly handed them a stack of documents she'd compiled, citing his farm stand at the local farmers market as evidence that his property was being used for commercial purposes. But Alex wasn't having any of it. He knew the law. And he wasn't about to let Monica twist the facts to suit her agenda. As Monica stood there, watching eagerly, certain that her plot to get Alex's farm shut down was about to succeed, something unexpected happened. Just as one of the officers was about to respond to her claims, a sleek, black, government car with tinted windows pulled into the driveway. Monica's face faltered as she looked at the new arrival. Alex, for the first time that day, allowed himself a small smile. He knew exactly who this was. The man in the dark suit stepped out of the vehicle, briefcase in hand, and walked straight toward the officers. He didn't even glance at Monica, as he nodded in greeting to the officers, who had clearly been briefed in advance. "Good morning, gentlemen," the man said in a measured tone. "I was asked to come down here for a site visit." Monica stood frozen, completely confused. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice dripping with disdain. "I work with the state's Agricultural Protection Bureau," the man responded calmly. "We received a report that someone was interfering with a legally protected farm." Monica's smug expression quickly disappeared, replaced with confusion and growing unease. The officer holding Monica's stack of complaints handed the documents over to the new arrival. "Sir? This is Monica Davis. She made the complaint?" The man in the suit nodded, scanning the papers briefly before addressing the situation. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Monica's confident demeanor evaporated as she realized this wasn't just a simple police visit, it was something much more serious. The man from the Agricultural Protection Bureau, Mr. Leland, turned toward her with a calm but stern expression. "Ma'am, are you aware that this farm is legally protected under the Right to Farm Act?" Monica's eyes widened, confusion now mixing with frustration. "The what?" she stammered. "The Right to Farm Act," Mr. Leland repeated, his tone unwavering. "It prevents local ordinances, including HOA rules, from interfering with legally established agricultural operations. That includes complaints about noise, aesthetics, and any attempts to reclassify farms as commercial properties." Monica's face turned red as she tried to regain control. "But this is a residential area," she snapped. Mr. Leland didn't flinch. "Yes, it's residential. But this farm was here long before your neighborhood was built. The farm's legal status supersedes your HOA's rules." Monica's mouth opened and closed as if she couldn't process what was happening. She had built her entire argument around the idea that Alex was breaking zoning laws. But now it was clear she had no grounds to stand on. The officers and Mr. Leland turned their attention to her, their silence more damning than any words could have been. Monica, still reeling from the legal blow, tried to maintain her composure. But it was clear she was losing control. "This is ridiculous," she shouted, her voice rising in anger. "This farm is ruining the neighborhood. It's making everything unlivable." But instead of the support she expected from the gathered neighbors, the crowd stood silently, many of them shifting uncomfortably, glancing at each other in disbelief. One of the neighbors, Mr. Reynolds, finally spoke up. "Monica, you've gone too far," he said, his voice calm but firm. "This farm was here before the neighborhood. And you've been harassing Alex for years." Mrs. Carter, another neighbor, crossed her arms and added, "We moved here for peace. But you've created nothing but problems. You've fined people for leaving their trash cans out too long. And now you're trying to shut down a farm that's been part of this community for generations." Monica's face twisted in disbelief, her grip tightening on the clipboard she had been holding. "You don't understand? I was only trying to maintain property values," she insisted. But Mr. Reynolds wasn't having it. "No, Monica," he said. "You've been running this HOA like a dictatorship. And it's time for it to stop." As the tension mounted, A third police cruiser rolled up. And a younger officer stepped out, holding a clipboard. "Sorry to interrupt," the officer said, "but we've just received confirmation from the county clerk's office that there are some irregularities in the HOA's financial filings. We need to bring Mrs. Davis in for questioning." Monica's face drained of color as the officer continued. "We're going to have to ask you to come with us." She froze, her mouth opening and closing in a desperate attempt to argue. But no one was listening anymore. The officers stepped forward. And despite her protests, they cuffed her right there in front of the entire neighborhood. As they led her to the cruiser, Monica's final words were directed at Alex. "You ruined everything," she screamed. Alex simply smiled, feeling the weight of the years of harassment finally lift. "No, Monica," he said calmly. "You did that all by yourself." The officers drove off, leaving the neighborhood stunned into silence. But as the police cruisers pulled away, the neighbors slowly began to clap, some exchanging knowing looks. The HOA was under official scrutiny. And for the first time in years, Alex's farm was safe. What do you think of Monica's actions and the way Alex stood up for his farm? It's crazy how far some people will go to impose their own agenda, even when they don't have the authority. Leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts on how Alex handled the situation. Did he do the right thing? Or could he have taken a different approach? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more dramatic HOA battles and incredible tales of standing up for what's right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.